I've never really spoke about the front garden here. It's a big old house, and one of the reasons is we've got three little gardens here. There's like walled retaining gardens. There's a little one under the front window, and then the other front window there's a nice big square. There's a stone with the name of the house engraved into it, set in the wall. So I need to develop these because it's one or two nice plants. There's a lovely gold spreader and a daphne and a sankaki maple. But one of the reasons I've never filmed out here is because it's been an embarrassment. It's a cobbled area and sometimes it's covered in weeds. I don't always get them cleared off. But mostly because I've been waiting 20 years to put a fucking a door on the coal shed. It's absolutely been a pain, and finding anybody to do it is quite difficult. But there's this smashing lad in Barnard Castle called Martin Wheeler, who's a really good joiner, and he's made such a lovely job of it. It's just he put a new lintel in, and yeah, and put some catches on, and it's a nice thick door. Real quality job. It's the sort of job you want. I like to see people taking a pride in the work they do. So now we can start to develop the front garden as well. I'm not sure what we're going to develop it with yet, but we will do something with it. I'm going back in for a cup of coffee again. Say it is absolutely nut freezing weather, so you catch me with just finishing a cup of hot chocolate, which was sent to me by Anchor and Peter Kirby. I must say thank you ever so much. We are just partaking of it now. Well, I am. I'm not giving any other bugger any. So thank you for that, and thank you for the chocolates. I hope this video is of interest to you, Anchor, and to anybody else watching it. It's a bit of a mix of bits and pieces from the last few weeks. The winter is a bit hard to find stuff to talk about, but it'd be all right. It'd be okay. There's some stuff in here. I'm off in for another one now. Now, I have a workshop here going where these strings are, as you know. But over against the field there, in amongst all the old pots and things at the back corner, it's not going to cast any shade, so it can grow as big as it wants. It's a corner I just want to fill up, and what I'm going to use here is this hydrangea. It's a lovely big thing. We'll see it next year when it's in flower. It will flower around this time of year, maybe a bit earlier. And this is Hydrangea Sargentiana. It's one of my favourites. It grows quite large, but we're going to stick it in here. I've just taken out a hole, which is like what you do when you do plants. But it's very stony, rocky ground here. There was an old wall here that separated along this fence. And a lot of the stone was used in the garden, or I used it in the garden. But it just makes it, the foundations of the old wall are quite difficult to dig through. So it takes me half an hour or so to dig a reasonable sized hole. But I'm just going to stick it in here, and we'll see over the next 2 or 3 years how it develops. It's a lovely morning today. It's I don't know what it is. It's late September, very late September. It's 26, about 29th, something like that. Anyway, we're going to put that in there. There we are, that's in. Don't have to be too fussy about it. All this is getting cleared out anyway. But it's just something to fill up that corner. And it will provide some lovely colour later in the year. This with these videos, I'm not going to wait a year and then show you it from start to finish and flowering. You'll just have to watch the channel as we go along. So we'll do the lot, warts and all, and difficulties. Won't we, Pep? Must be weird not being at Eggleston, eh? I'm finding it weird. Haven't quite got used to it yet. Yeah, if you remember, we had a lime tree, a Hillier, which Thomas last year or the year before cut back, really pollarded. Now this one had rooted through into the ground. It had completely, well, it had just bound itself into the ground. It had been stuck in this pot for years and we'd forgotten we'd even put it down here. So what I've done is cut it right back to a stall, and I'll probably just plant it somewhere. It's in about a 45 litre pot, so I'll have to do it one day when I'm feeling particularly energetic, or take a couple of days to dig the hole. The problem with these bigger plants is, and these are ones I've kept back at the nursery for when I retire, the problem is they're in bigger pots, and you forget the bigger the pot, the bigger the hole you have to dig. If you remember that crappy old maple in a green pot, it was all misshapen. But one of the glories of maples is that when they go misshapen, they actually can look really, really interesting. They're a plant that lend themselves to being windswept and one-sided. It was very good, and we'll see if it takes. It's just been stuck in that pot for years and years, competing with liverwort, moss, and various other rubbish. I'm just planting one the other side of this archway. This one's come into its own really quite well now. So I'm just gonna wang him in there and see if he does all right. He's at the base of this cercis and this Chamaecyparis. What is it called? Chamaecyparis piscifera filifera aurea. Bloody hell. There's a little atrilinear over there. I'm not sure which one that is. We've looked at it before. It's just starting to lose its leaves now, but it's a real screamer, isn't it? I mean, look at it. It says, "Look at me. Aren't I gorgeous?" Yeah. I know quite a few young women like that, actually. Why did I say that? That's like there was no need to say that. You don't get a much lovelier plant for late October into November than the Nerine. It's a fantastic plant for late summer colour. You can see there's another big bud there waiting to open. It does well here. This is like a south facing wall, and it's just stuck in some old gravel at the base, and every year or two I have to divide it because the bulbs jack themselves up out of the ground. It really does well. And in a pot there I've got Jacqueline Postal, the Daphne. That's nice. There's some very nice little conifers waiting to grow up there. Now that's an echium. I just stuck it in there for a bit of fun. Echium. Yeah. Also a few camellias. Just put them around here just to give them some protection over winter. There's quite a lot around here. There's a nice trough there that will eventually I'll fill up with alpines. Yeah, quite like this area, but it's really just for like a washing line, and I have this washing because you don't want a bloody great washing line. I put this one up last summer. They're quite good. You just put it on the wall and it goes down flat against the wall. There's some of Lisa's stinky old socks there. Yeah, it's really good. And there's an oil tank around here as well, so it's hidden out the way, but it's still a nice sunny sort of area. You see why the house gets its name from, because the side of the house just gets so much sun. At some stage I will develop the front garden, but not yet. There's all sorts around here. Really cobbled area drives me crackers. We're making some holes. Each of these pegs is for one of these pads, these concrete pads. These are what they call easy pads, and the bracket goes in and the bearers go across them. You can adjust them. They have a 4-inch adjustment on them, so you can raise it up and down and then get your levels. The shed foundations, or the workshop foundations, will cut into the slope. We'll build a step onto the workshop here and then cut it into the sloping ground, so the drainage will come underneath the thing, underneath the workshop. Now, looking at this, there's a lot of spoil that comes out of it. By spoil, I mean the old soil. So what we're doing is just putting that across onto some waste ground. Look at that lovely parotia. That's Parotia Vanessa. We only put that in a few weeks ago, and it's an upright, erect form, and it's lovely. Now here, I've got some primulas. I don't know if you remember, we did these. If you watched the Plantsmans Diaries back in the summer of 21, we were just pricking them out. It's very easy. What we're going to do is mass plant them. They're all mixed colours, and then we'll select some of the best colours. The soil here isn't ideal. You could really do with a more slightly acid soil really for primulas, but you can be a bit cavalier with them because we've raised them by seed. Now, and it's just a question, you don't want to get too poncy about it, and like sticking them in like rows of soldiers. Just a non-runner. Just plant them where they fall. Try and give them some natural, random. So that's all we're going to do. As I say, if you're growing them from seed, they're costing you next to nothing. So you can be a bit, as I say, cavalier with them. And there's no need to piss about with it. Just take out a slit trench, because you've got a nice depth of topsoil here now. This is, as I say, this is to spoil the old soil from the workshop foundations. This was just an area of ground that was covered in stinging nettles, which we've got rid of through the summer. The whole point of getting the ground clean was so that we can do things like this. You wouldn't want to be doing this on ground where the weed growth is coming back all the time. That's why you have to spend a year doing it. By spending a year cleaning your ground, you can kill off the nettles. You can allow it, if you do it early enough, you can allow it to regrow. and then you can do it. You can kill them off again, and you end up with a good soil. This soil was absolutely laden in worms, and then you can always dress it with leaf mould. But we're just putting them down here. There's a few odd foxgloves, and we'll just give it a natural look. It really doesn't matter too much how they do. You don't need to be too fussy about when you're planting them, because if you have a look here, you see there's plenty of roots. This is all going to die back anyway, so if a few of these break off, it really doesn't matter a sod. The important thing is to just get them in. There's no different with mass planting like this, things like primulas, than it is bulbs, where you take a bucket full of bulbs and just scatter them. I've seen people in the past, they get bulbs and then they line them out like little soldiers, and they look fucking ridiculous come the spring. They lose any sort of natural. Right, just show you one more thing. Over here are some of the hypercooper troughs. Now, we made these last winter, if you remember. I think it was last winter, yeah. And you can see they're just starting to green up. They look horrible still. They look still too new. They need another year or two, but they will tone down. Here's one that we made about 25 years ago. This one here, and that, to all intents and purposes, to me, looks like a stone trough. It's a lovely thing, and I've got several of these, and they tone down beautifully. If you were to buy this at a garden sale, you could pay 150, 200 pounds, depends who's bidding, but I've seen them go for ridiculous amounts of money. But yeah, so you can make them quite cheaply, and they, given time, and a lot of stuff in gardening is patience. You know, you it's about anticipation, and the anticipation of what something's going to be, a flower, a shrub, or even a trough, is just as nice as the actual end product. I'm getting quite a collection of flat stone, which I'm going to use for the stream. Look at that coming off of there. That's that Red River birch. It's looking really dramatic. I just hope I haven't thinned it out too much from the lower branches. It's a specimen tree. Perfect for somewhere like a show garden, an arboretum, the sort of thing you would find in there, like Thorpe Perrow, or even down in Hilliers, which reminds me, Clara's been working down with her godmother again, Jemima, and they had a little trip to Hilliers.
Planting this morning. She's using a trowel to make slits in the turf, and then to place a crocus down into the hole that's just been made, and then she just flattens it over afterwards.
But first, Jemima has gone and put them all together in that bucket, and then just sprinkled them, throwing them
randomly.
So you just get sort of a natural, random selection. It'll be so nice. It'll be all different colours and whatever the variety is. So lovely.
Mixture between Snow Bunting, Flower Record, Vanguard, and Blue Pearl. So it'll be purples, blues, and whites, and mauves. And 400 to go in. Here we are.
Right, we're in another Winchester garden. Bulb planting. It's a beautiful new garden.
Pick up all our voices.
So, Jemima, what are we doing right now?
So with bulb planting today, beautiful day, autumnal day, and we've got Lynette here who's doing some bulb planting, and you can see we've placed everything. So everything has to be placed first. So we've got a mixture of alliums, tulips, muscari, and little narcissi. So they're all placed in groups of sort of 7, 9, depending on the size of the bulb. And then Lynette's planting them as now I've finished placing everything. And I've got my bags of bulbs that I'm going to take down to another part.
So many bags. Don't drop any. Great, it's a lot of work.
The colour in the garden late October is still pretty good.
So here we go, we're planting these bulbs from Peter Nyson. So we've got all different types of plants here for the spring. And Jemima's here just laying them out for us. And then I'll go around planting them. So you're just putting them in sevens around this garden.
So I've just dug a hole for the tulips, and they have to go in 3 times the depth of the hole. And you make a sort of hole with a level-ish bottom, and then you place the bulbs with a pointy side up. That's the top end, and then you cover them back up.
That's easy. According to Malcolm, a monkey could do that.
Not too difficult. You don't want to be doing individual bulbs when you've got 250 to do.
Yes, just dig the hole with a spade.
Dig the hole with a spade.
And then
3
just place
times the depth of the bulbs. So especially tulips, they need to be quite deep, otherwise they don't come back. They don't become. These ones I've chosen are quite perennial variety. A couple of bulbs I just dug up, which I'm going to replant. There are a few bulbs in this garden already, so we're bound to be digging a few up while we go.
And here's what Jemima's been placing. Alliums and tulips so far.
And daffodils.
And daffodils.
Narcissi.
Yes. You digging the last hole?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Within an hour and a half or 2 hours, we've done that.
Not bad, is it? I knew they would take too long to plant.
No.
Yeah. Got to get the bulbs out. We'll go and find them. Here they are.
Now, what is this? Oh, no. That's... Oh! Acer palmatum senkaki.
Yeah, so that's
It's
the coral
beautiful.
bark, coral bark one.
Beautiful.
Beautiful one.
Really is. We've been weeding beforehand. Most of the day we've been actually weeding and tying up the climbers, Lonicera, but we haven't done that one yet. See if you can name all the plants here. Starting with Geranium Roseanne. It's beautiful. It's flowering so much actually still here. It's quite warm today. Apparently it's been like 17 degrees for autumn. And now we need to clear up. It's very muddy. So we're here in Hilliers Gardens doing another film. I got the beautiful cornices, dogwoods in colour now. Perfect time of year to come. All these metasequoias here. just coming out the car park. Come across these massive eucalyptus trees. Massive, but they do suck up all the water. It's not as good for the environment here. Look at that trunk. Beautiful.
Oh, these are lovely. Clara.
Oh yeah.
Bungii. Clara bungii.
I love it here also because you see this cotoneaster. You get all the labels on them just hanging from the branches or on the ground. So you know what they are. That's quite cool. Beautiful view over here. They're massive. Wow. And even more wow. That's look lovely in summer with the peonies. Design inspo here. Black grass. Very Halloweeny, I think.
And then lovely next to this one. Actually, Plantsmans.
Beautiful.
Named after Thomas.
Yeah. He's gonna think I'm a weirdo.
You want to come up with a big Thomas.
Yeah, have a look at that. I bought a big thing of pepper out of Morrison's. Look at that. Look, look. Now, it's only 2/3 full. Why use all that plastic? I'm going to write to Morrison's and I'm going to say, why is your pepper pot 2/3 full? Now, if that's the right weight of pepper, why can't we have a smaller pot? These two maples have been really impressive since I potted them up. They're just being let go. This is Mikawa Yatsubusa. It's much thinner than I would like. It's I think its name it means something like pantiles or something like that. It's the leaves overlap each other, but these have this has been so starved. It's been in the same pot for about 10-15 years. Yeah, 15 years I would say, and it's just a bit stunted, so I've moved it up and put it in a really nice old pot, and just given it a bit of a treat, and it's really responded. I didn't do it until about August. I can't remember whether we filmed it or not. And this one here, this is not a... Wait, get out of the way, bloody flea bag. This is emerald lace, and I'm quite stunned by the colour of it. Absolutely amazing. It's quite a common variety now these days, but really is quite impressive. I can't even remember. I'm pretty sure it's a green one, but it almost looks like it should be a purple one, but probably the clue is in the name. They go well together there, and I'm hoping they're going to thrive because they have had years of neglect. Maples do seem to do that. They do. They don't like too much, fine treatment. That there is a golden bay. I don't know if you remember. It's a golden bay tree. I just shoved it in at the base of that liriodendron. Just because I had nowhere else to put it, but I think I might just leave it there. I've trained it with 2 lead shoots. It's meant to be a standard with two leaders. I sometimes do things like that. I've done it down the bottom with a holly as well. I don't know why, it's just one of them oddities. Well, now, one of the jobs I've sort of got to do is the foundations for the workshop. That's all right. It's just going to be a hassle. There's nearly a 2-foot difference between the back, between those 2 pegs, and down here to the line. This basically means I'm going to have to dig this out with a wheelbarrow and a spade. Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind. It takes a bit of time. And there was loads of wood over there that what I'm doing is letting it rot. It's so good for insects, and I've just made a pile of it there. I'm not burning that now because it's full of like wood lice and grubs and bits and pieces. So I'd rather they just rotted down in the garden. It'll make a useful tonic actually along here for some of these plants, because the soil's pretty stony and rocky. So we'll just, as it rots down, we'll rake it along. Yeah, so here, the problem I have here is that there are stumps from that huge, roots from that huge ash tree. And there are some, you can see them here, there are some 20-year-old hazel coppices. The only way I can dig them out is by hand. There's one there. I think that's a little willow stump there. That shouldn't be too much difficult. That one I can leave and just kill off the stump. But these 3, there was a big mountain ash there, so that's gone. And these 2 stumps. I spent an hour and I've tickled around it and released some of the things, but that's a job for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Will you come down to help, Finn? Finny? Yeah. You're not a lot of help, to be honest. One of the interesting things about this this garden, it is an interesting thing, I suppose. Not unless you're moving them. It's the amount of stone and the variation. There's these like round river stones. I have no idea where they've come from. There are literally dozens of them. And flags, I just dig them up over the years. And we've edged paths with them 20 odd years back, but I've got to get them all together now because I want to redo this pond. Next time I'll tell you about a really good chap on the internet who has a YouTube channel, and there's lots of them that do ponds, but I found one guy particularly helpful. He's you know, they're all do it their own way, but the one guy I'm using is from Crystal Clear Aquatics. More on that next time. But these old flags and lumps of rock and stone, they'll make a lovely bed for a stream, but it's the only way I can really use them up. But I have cleared a lot of the pond, and it's, oh God, it's a mess. It is about 6 foot deep in the middle. I know, because I dug the bugger with a spade. But over the course of the next year, we'll do something with that. I'm definitely getting a bit long in the tooth for this. Now, this is the final route to get out. It's a big old ash tree, and all I can do, because I can't get machinery around here, so what I have to do is just crowbar it, the soil away bit by bit. You can see, separate it away from the roots, clean up the roots, and then it's just a question of making yourself some space. You can see, as the old man used to say, slowly, slowly, catchy monkey. And that's what it comes down to. It's not so bad, but if you bust a gut and you go crackers at it, you're going to hurt yourself. You just have to dig a hole round it. All of these have got to come out because this is the foundations of the shed. And hey, bugger me. You can see here, this is where I'm working on it, and I'm just slowly working my way around. The two big hazels you can see were over there. At least there was something to grab hold of. I should have left a longer stump on this. Yeah, and then the trench. It's just nigh on 50 yards long. It's coming from here where the workshop's going to be. I had a go at doing it. You don't realise how deep 2 feet is. 60 centimetres, right down there. And that's got to go all the way up the garden. It'll take me, I'm going to do a yard or two a day, hopefully. And then it's got to come down here and round there. But the good thing is I can put both pipes in. I can put a conduit for the armoured cable for the electrics, and then I'll stick a water pipe in as well. Not in the conduit, it can't go in there, but I can stick a water pipe in over the top of it. I'll half fill it, backfill it, and then stick a water pipe in so it's not as low down. Although the lower down the better, I suppose. Yeah, I'll just stick it on top. The idea is to have water supply down here for if I do a stream and make this pond nice. And then I'd like a water supply up here as well. Like the pipe will come down the side of the path, down that second path, down that garden. and then we'll bring it across to here, and on the inside of this pier I'll put a tap. Hope that makes sense. I'm not sure how exciting these videos are going to be. I haven't got the whole of Eggleston to play with now. Anyway, we'll keep at it and see how it goes.
This is my favourite little path in the garden behind the cottage, and it's so nice, particularly this time of year, because even the plainest leaves are suddenly, they're sort of painted gold and look fantastic. So I'm going to walk along this path to do Poet's Corner, and hopefully you like it. It's very windy, so I don't know if the sound's going to be okay, but it's peaceful and it's beautiful, and the leaves and the flowers that are left look so gorgeous. This is one of my favourite trees, and I'm lucky enough to have plenty to choose from in this place. The size of the leaves on the floor are amazing. So I'm going to go over here through the leaf-strewn path and read my poem by this favourite tree, which has a little bird house perched just part of the way up, and the goldcrests often come and hover around here. It's lovely. May Sarton was a Belgian-American poet, novelist and memoirist. She was born in 1912 in Belgium and died in New York in 1995. This one's called Poem in Autumn. Now over everything the autumn light is thrown, and every line is sharp, and every leaf is clear. Now without density or weight the airy sun sits in the flaming boughs, an innocent fire that shines but does not burn nor wither. The leaves, light penetrated, change their essence, take on the gold transparence of the weather, are touched by death and then by light's holy presence. So we, first touched by death, were changed in essence, as if grief grew transparent and turned to airy gold, and we were given days of special radiance, light brimmed, light shaken, and with love so filled it seemed the heartbeat of the world was in our blood. And when we stood together, love was everywhere, and no exchange was needed. If exchange we could, the blessedness of sunlight poised on air.
Right. You catch me with my fingers in Constance. I have 6 roses here I've planted. I've planted one called the Pilgrim, Constance Spry, Bathsheba, Gertrude Jekyll, Warm Welcome, what was the other one? And Claire Austin. And they're all from David Austin, as I explained earlier. I do like good quality roses, and despite the price, and it does grind my guts a bit, but they are very, very nice roses. I think the thing to do is we'll grow them for a year or two and get this structure covered with them, and then we might grow some hybrid clematis up through the roses to extend the flowering season. We won't have them skanky old tomatoes there, but they were just for a bit of fun. But yeah, it should work well. But have a look at those roses. I can't put pictures on because I'll get done for copyright. But in a year or two, you'll be able to follow them. Also, the Ophelia. That's another one that we grew. I'm always reminded. It always makes me laugh. I can't help but smile. Well, it's a bit rude, really. There was a rose named after Eleanor Roosevelt, and she was very flattered at the rose named after her. And until she read the description, and apparently it said, "Not good in a bed, but great up against a wall." If I'm going to take people with me doing up this garden, I'm not going to say the word "take you on a journey" because it's a twat word and it gets on my tit ends no end. But if we are going to do this garden together, and some of you are going to watch this, I have to be more on the ball as regarding to what I film. I've just planted half a dozen roses. You can see there's one there. Obviously I'm going to cover over the pagoda and the arch and the arbor and bower and stuff, all this woodwork, because it needs to be clothed. It's all very naked at the moment. So I've banged in half a dozen roses, 7 actually. Now in the last video I mentioned Ophelia. I only really showed you that one because it was one we budded. But there is an interesting thing about roses. Opinion is divided in the horticultural industry about how to plant them. The easiest way is for me to get this one out. I'm just going to pull it out. There. Just pull it out. There's a rose. Now I'm going to go down the garden, have a cup of coffee and talk to you about roses or rose planting. I'm not sure you'll be any more enlightened at the end of it, but I'm going to tell you what I do with them. Right, now there's a rose. Came from David Austin, £27.50 I think. It's bloody expensive. But it's I can't remember what it's called. I don't really want this label now, but the Pilgrim. It's a small climber. Anyway, that's all irrelevant. Let's have a look at this rose. If you took rose propagation and you did it all by hardwood cuttings, you wouldn't get very many rose plants. So rose breeders like David Austin or Peter Beals or any of the others, they use a system of grafting, or strictly speaking budding. And from each bud you can get a rose. They often put 2 or 3 buds in. Anyway, that's all another subject. What I want to talk to you about, and what causes confusion with people, is whether to bury, when you plant the rose, this graft union where the rootstock meets the bud or the graft, whether to bury it below ground or above ground. Now, typical of the horticultural industry, opinion is divided. Even the RHS, if you look at some of their old gardening encyclopedias, will say bury the graft. There's ground level, plant it below. All right. If you look on their website today, you'll probably find, or I'm pretty sure they are, that they will say plant it above. It just leads to bloody confusion with people. So I'll just tell you how I do it. I have always planted the graft union above ground. Now, that's probably a minority view, but I've never had any problems with it. I don't understand all this suckering business. It doesn't increase suckers. I have never found that at all. What would worry me about putting a graft union below ground is the potential of rotting. But either way, the rose, it's not going to make a donkey's dobber bit of difference, to be honest. If your ground is quite shallow and you've got to get really deep down into subsoil, you can't always get them down, so have it above. I'm not sitting on the fence here, it's just that I've never found it makes any difference. Sometimes I've been in a rush and I've planted a few of them below ground if I've been planting a rose bed, and it's just not made any difference. But the purists like to get on their bandwagon and say, oh, I do it this way, I do it that way. I wouldn't worry about it. Just get your roses, get good quality roses from a reputable source, even if you have to pay £27.50 for the buggers. They're usually good quality stock. Or just grow your own. One of the things why I've never understood it quite is that very often we plant onto a rootstock for a different sort of vigour, because a lot of roses, not all, but a lot of them, they don't grow well on their own roots. So you can increase the vigour or the disease resistance by putting them onto a different rootstock. But just do it. Just plant them, get a good spread of roots on. Unless your ground's really poor, I wouldn't fart around putting in bone meal and stuff. Reasonable garden soil, they'll get away. Well, I've always worked on this philosophy that if you plant something and you put too much food around it and you make it completely moist all the time, it doesn't encourage the plant to put on roots in search of nutrition and in search of moisture. In the wild, in nature, plants have dry cycles. You can get too hung up on making things moist all the time and too much food. You want them to put on a bit of root run. So if your soil's reasonable, just plant away and don't fart about for hours on end. These are the roses. I bought half a dozen of them. It took me 10 minutes to plant them. I prepared the ground beforehand, just turned it over, broke it down a bit, and in 10 minutes, 6 roses. I think I was talking to Clara at the time on the phone, talking to her, or she was talking to me. I wasn't necessarily listening, but there you go. It's Clara. Okay, roses. This is the ground that I prepared earlier. You can just take out a hole, spread around the roots. I think I'm going to have to get some knee pads because I'm getting a bit old now. And yeah, there you are. Yeah, there's the graft union. I'm going to keep mine just above ground level, but if you wanted to, you could ram it down a bit more, about 1 inch below. I'm not going to bother. There's a bulb. I'll bung that bugger in as well. So spread the roots out a bit. So there's the union. That's it. Use your spade to get up, otherwise, oh no, I better use that. Oh God, bloody hell. Give him a bit of a tuck. There you are. 1 rose planted. No need to fart around all day doing a single fucking rose. Clara's been working down with her godmother again, Jemima, and they had a little trip to Hilliers. So she did send me a little bit of footage. Footage is feet fetishes. I'm getting fetish, footish and footage mixed up. It's an age thing, not a perversion.